click start streaming here in YouTube, and our event is starting, and we should be live at this point on YouTube. I think we had a problem with the technical event, how it was set up. It did not auto start the stream as I was expecting it to, so I think we had a glitch in our configuration. So I'm just going to start over. We're just going to start over from the beginning. We're going to act like this never happened at all whatsoever. And so you've tuned in to the eCommerce-Aholic. My name is TJ Gamble, and I am here to help you get more from your e-commerce store. And today we've got an interesting live stream lined up. This is a conversation. I want you to participate in this conversation. We're trying things a little differently. I apologize for the late start on YouTube. We are streaming to Twitch, we are streaming to Facebook, and we are streaming to YouTube. We're trying to see where we can reach the best audience. Live streaming is not really YouTube's strong suit. It does it, but it doesn't really promote the videos. It actually penalizes you for views after the stream's live. So we're going to try some of these other platforms and see if we can reach a broader audience by doing that. Again, this is a conversation today. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or you're watching on Periscope on Twitter, you can comment in any of those platforms. We can see it, we can pull it in, and we can talk about this very important subject matter. I heard a lot of conversation on Twitter around Magento's release schedule and release strategy, and how they are dropping some major features into minor releases, and there are a lot of unintended consequences of that. So, and there's also been a lot of discussion around Magento's Community Insider program. I had Mark William Lewis lined up to come on. He was active in that both of those conversations on Twitter. Unfortunately, he had to cancel this morning, and hope everything works out for him. And he had a very legitimate excuse. I'll let you hit him up about it. I'm not going to give out his excuses. But I was doing some research on the Community Insider program, and on the actual page, they've got this great quote from Joseph at Swift Otter. And I'm like, well, you know what? Who else would be better to have on to talk about these things than someone who gives back to the community? Swift Otter has the best Magento study guides. I'm very jealous of that content. So I reached out to Joseph, and Joseph, welcome to the live stream. And why don't you give everyone kind of the elevator pitch on what you have going on there at Swift Otter?
Sure. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be on here. So my name is Joseph Maxwell. I run a company called Swift Otter Solutions. We're outside of Kansas City here. We help merchants on the Magento platform, both digital marketing as well as the Magento development. So kind of an end-to-end solution there. We're small. There's 7, 8 of us, and have a small number of clients in that way. But our goal is to provide excellent quality service and deep understanding of Magento, which, as I'm sure TJ has seen as well. If you don't have that on the Magento platform, things can go south really quickly. So to be able to provide that capability, and then like he was saying on the other side, on the developer side, giving back to community, we love to be able to put those study guides together, the practice tests, to be able to help people to fulfill that knowledge gaps that exist in my mind and everybody else's mind, so that we can take the test, we can pass it, and then hopefully that knowledge carries forward as we are developing that sort of thing, and help us be able to make better products for our clients.
Now, if you're watching this, my editor, DJ, is not here, and we're trying to add technical complexity. So we're liable to have a few glitches, just like we had a problem getting the YouTube stream to actually start up. But we'll work through those. We'll continue. We're going to have a great conversation. Again, this is a conversation. I want to hear what you have to say about this. So you can tweet at me. You can post it in this Facebook live stream, or, as always, in the YouTube comments. Today, we wanted to talk about that minor version release. So let's start there. I think that's as good of a place to start as any. And in recent releases, let's see here, Magento or Adobe Gento, Madobe. I'm not sure exactly what to call it at this point.
I think they're saying Magento and Adobe company. Isn't that what I've seen several places now?
an Adobe company.
That's a
Gotta get
mouthful,
that.
though.
It is, especially like when you're trying to tag them on LinkedIn and you have to type in the whole
Yes,
name. It doesn't really
that's
work
right.
in a sentence anymore. So that's
Yeah.
that throws me off. But recent releases, for example, 2.2.1, they added Signified into the core, fraud prevention. 2.2.2, Magento shipping, Tamondo, dot mailer. 2.2.4 had Amazon Pay, Vertex, and Klarna. So they're adding some major features into minor releases. And again, this was Mark's argument on this on Twitter was that it adds unnecessary complexity to upgrade strategy for merchants, and it really adds to the total cost of ownership of the platform because of the level of work that goes into each one of these upgrades and potential problems that are caused by major features. Are you seeing that as well, Joseph? Have you had a lot of clients? Have you had any client pushback, or what are you seeing as far as the amount of time that goes into making these minor updates?
Yes. Well, first, I do like the minor updates a lot. I mean, the fact that I mean, who knows how many fixes on each one of them. That is nice. But as far as like you were saying, the area of bringing these other modules in, I remember I think dot mailer in the 222, maybe 223 as well. I think that causes some problems. There is, if I remember right, it was throwing some errors on the front end. Amazon Pay, there was a crazy weird bug there that we had to fix for a number of our clients, where the emails for the transactional emails, you send the email, and I think what happened was it was resetting the from name, so it was actually somehow ending up to be the user on the system that was sending the email. So like www-data, and I'm like, who's that from? So there's been some weird issues that have been introduced with these new modules, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want the bug fixes, the new updates, but
Absolutely.
the question is obviously Magento is a business, and people are
They have to make
constantly,
money.
yeah, they're constantly asking for more resources for this or do this better or hire more people over here. I mean, that is a constant complaint in the community, is that we want more resources or money spent in whatever area interests us. And so being profitable, being getting all of the good press and being profitable and all the things that come with that are important for a company like Magento to be able to continue to grow. So rolling these
Absolutely.
features into the core, especially if they're a financial gain, there's a whole nother debate as to whether or not they're unfair or whether or not they they give someone an unfair advantage over maybe an equal or even
Yes.
better competitor. And maybe we'll get Karen Baker on to have that discussion. I think she would lend a lot of great
That would be
insight
good.
into that conversation. But
Yes. That'd be a good
my
discussion.
my question is there a better way? Like, is
Right.
2.3 takes time. That's a major release, and the way Magento is releasing such awesome functionality, 2.2 with all of the B2B stuff, and then 2.3 with the content management capabilities of multi-source inventory. I mean, they're adding just crazy complex features with every major release. Do you wait for
Right.
that? Like that could be 6-7 months out. Do you wait for that to get something like Amazon Pay or dot mailer or Vertex into the core? Is there a better way of doing that in your opinion?
I think it's one of the biggest advantages of spacing these inclusions out is that when there is a problem, I think it's a little more isolated. So, like, say if you drop 2.3 on, and then obviously that's the minimum PHP requirement there is 7.2. So, uh, then if you bring on Amazon Pay and Vertex and Klarna and add all these on, well, could it be that it would actually be a more intense debugging process to get to 2.3, which actually might hold merchants off from that, versus what seems like a minor version upgrade, just throwing in Amazon Pay. Doesn't seem like it's as big of an upgrade in order to do that. I don't know. That would be a thought. And actually, the other thing I was thinking about what you're saying there, TJ, was I think for the community edition, I don't fault them one small bit for including this in, especially if there is some type of kickbacks or whatever that Magento is getting from this, just because, I mean, it's a free product and they are putting thousands of man hours into developing this. And so it's the product that then helps merchants make money. So I think it's very reasonable, at least on the community edition, and it could be easily justified on the other editions as well.
Yeah, everyone has their opinion, and mine is very simple. It's a great thing when it's something I'm going to recommend to a merchant anyway, because it lowers the cost of getting that. Like, you
Absolutely.
need email automation, and I'm always surprised at how many merchants I talk to that are doing nothing there, and they don't even have abandoned carts. So when you include dot mailer, well, that's great. You know, dot mailer may be out of most of those merchants' price range, but it's good to have Amazon Pay in there, because you need to be experimenting with that with your market. But you know, that's one of those things where somebody who's not going to use Amazon Pay, well, that's just more code in there. That's more bloat. Someone on Twitter had maybe recommended and talked about it. At one point, Magento was moving toward making modules really simple to install. And so could these be some sort of preferred add-on that maybe are not in the core, but they're supported as if they were, but you could just choose them when you went through the install process? Any complexities in that you see offhand that maybe make that not an appropriate strategy?
For me, that would be actually a little challenging. Well, we use a automated build and deploy solution. So I like every line of code that is on the server in deployment is switched out whenever we deploy new code, unless there's like a hotfix or something along those lines. So to me, we always recommend against, well, we say don't do this. You know, any merchant wanting to install a module there, if someone wasn't doing that, if you were actually running composer install update on the server, I think that would be fine. I mean, there's obviously the risk of downtime associated with that, installing those modules. Maybe they can figure out a way to get around that, but that would be, I guess, the concern that would come to my mind.
Yeah, and one of the problems you have is the flexibility of Magento. There's a lot of different ways that people are maintaining and pushing that code into production.
Yes.
And so, how do you support that on all of them? Maybe you don't. Maybe you force people to do things a particular way. Again, if you're watching this, we definitely want your opinion. If you're watching live, post it in the live chat. You can tweet at me. You can post it on the Facebook live stream here. If you're catching this on replay, which a lot of people do, then post it in the comments. I want to hear your opinion on how could we do this correctly. This is not a Magento bashing session. We don't want to be negative, and I want to talk about general negativism in the community here in just a little bit after this, and then we'll talk about that, and then I want to talk about the Community Insider program. But this is not a bash. This is an open conversation to get your opinions on something that seemed to be a hot topic on Twitter. We do have a couple of participants, and Ben Marks here. Thanks for watching, Benjamin Marks. See, we're having all sorts of technical glitches here. I was going to try to send his thing, but it just shows me my name. I was trying to show his comment there. But he says Majobi. It's unofficial. It's the official, unofficial way to handle the combination of Adobe and Magento and Adobe Company. The merging of Adobe and Magento and Adobe Company. So again, I wish Mark was here to kind of fill us in on his thoughts a little bit, but didn't pan out, obviously. Any other things? Again, we're going to go for about an hour here, unless the conversation dies. If you have any comments or anything to add to this conversation, obviously that helps us stretch it out, and we will stay and answer any questions. So any other talking points you want to hit on that? Any other thoughts around how, maybe some consequences of that we haven't mentioned, or any way that could possibly be improved?
Sure. Well, one thing I have done with with these extra modules is Internet. Andreas von Studsnitz, I probably just totally butchered his name. So
Probably.
he put out probably exactly. So he put out a article. If you want to search for it, it's removing unused core modules from Magento 2 the right way. And he's been keeping it up to date with the different versions. So with Magento being Composer means everything is modularized. Everything found in pretty much, well, it is found in the vendor folder. So whether for Magento modules, having vendor Magento, say module captcha or module persistent, something like that. But you can go through and you can say, I don't want to install these packages. So whenever Composer update, Composer install is run, it will remove and or prevent those packages from being installed. So for a lot of our customers, if they're not using those extra modules, and there's even a number of Magento modules that are unnecessary, that makes it very easy to trim down that code base size, as well as help prevent unnecessary bugs from creeping into the system.
Now, do you know if that works? Does that work on cloud as well as an on-prem self-hosted Magento?
I am not sure on that one. It depends. I would guess if it is straight up reading the Composer JSON, I would think it would. If it is substituting the Composer JSON for a Magento approved or a Magento customized one, then that probably would not work.
That's a great article, and I posted it into the chat on YouTube. If you're watching it on one of the other platforms, get over to YouTube. You don't want to watch this on one of the other platforms. Periscope is terrible quality anyway, so if you're watching this on Twitter, you definitely want to click on over and watch on YouTube. But that is a great point. I'm sitting here now. I want to just kind of read through this and not do the live. Maybe I should do a live reading of this blog post on maintaining this. Maybe that would interest everyone.
I will throw something out there that we ran into a very weird bug where the import with the Magento product export did not work. In running through what was going on, turns out the module admin notification is actually required. So I keep meaning to email him and to let him know that it technically is not required, but in order to make the export work, it's a really weird bug. You actually have to have that turned on.
Well, that's definitely a great point. Yeah, save some time. Save some time. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the, just this open discourse and this feedback loop with Magento. And I know, there are a lot of people in the community that are, we'll just call it very active with providing feedback. And sometimes that's constructive criticism. Sometimes it's just outright criticism. And I want this channel, I don't want to shy away from criticism. We don't want to do that. I think one of the great things about Magento is that they receive it, and in most cases they have acted upon it. I've seen a lot of changes over the last few years with how they've taken that feedback and they've addressed those things. And people used to complain about not being able to submit requests to the core code, and they've got a whole community engineering team that is live streaming on another channel right on my time slot here for some reason or another. But anyway, great channel. I highly suggest if you're into Magento, going over there and subscribe after this stream. Don't go over there right now.
It is recorded.
Yeah, exactly. You can watch theirs later. This is a conversation.
That's right.
You get to contribute to this one. But anyway, they've done a lot of things based on feedback from the community and trying to improve relations with developers. And the great thing is the ability to provide that feedback. My only concern is that if it's constantly negative, like feedback sometimes can become, and it's in a public forum, well, what does that do to the perception of the platform and the community? Is it perceived as toxic if the feedback is generally negative and it's open like that? And I don't think the answer is to close it off, But, if we're constantly putting negative feedback out in the open like that, is that something that maybe Magento's competitors can leverage and use against it, even though they have problems and they're maybe getting feedback? Maybe they're getting no feedback. Maybe they're just wandering in the darkness and not understanding, how things are and their decisions are affecting their users. But is there a way where maybe we can structure this feedback a little more constructively to help our platform without ultimately doing damage to it in its community? So what you have any thoughts on that, Joseph? Anything you want to add to that?
I totally agree. I think, it kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, that, they're investing tremendous amount of resources for the majority of merchants. Obviously there is a subset that is running cloud and commerce, but at least in the open source, they're investing a huge amount of resources, and I think it's worth being grateful for that. And I am grateful. And obviously there has to be a mechanism in how to provide feedback. Otherwise, Magento's not going to get any better. At least it might not get better in the right directions. But I think it's the positivity surrounding Magento is important, just if nothing else, for the incredible, powerful platform that it is.
Yeah, my window into Magento is pretty much Twitter. There's no real good Facebook groups for Magento. Most of them are just offshore firms that are trying to sell something, and that's pretty much all that are in those groups. There are a development group or two, but they're not real active. You've got Stack Exchange, and even Reddit is kind of small when it comes to the Magento community over there. So most of my insight is Twitter, and most of the people I see actively engaging in the community are on Twitter. If you happen to somehow find this channel and you haven't found Twitter, then hit me up. Let me know you want to be introduced around, and I can, there's some great lists out there of Magento folks to follow on Twitter, and you definitely need to be engaged in that conversation. But I have noticed that since the Adobe acquisition of Magento, almost instantly the tone seems to be in general a bit more negative. Are you seeing? I don't know. I mean, I know you have a Twitter account. I don't know how much time you spend on it, but are you seeing the same thing?
I would say, unfortunately, yes. Maybe, and I thought about that. It's like, could it be that, now that Magento is part of a bigger conglomeration, that people are a little freer to sound off? It's not like they're going to have as many, call it, I shouldn't use the word retaliation because that's totally inappropriate, but they might have other people that are remember that they said these negative things. I don't know, but again, it comes back to, I think Magento it has its strengths and it has its weaknesses, just like Shopify and BigCommerce and Volusion and all the other platforms out there. But Magento is an incredible platform for the audience for which it was designed, and keeping that constructive criticism going in the correct channels, I think is helpful, but it's also, it is important too. But keeping it positive to it can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, it's better to come back with, this is bad and here's why, than, man, I hate this. Right.
That's right.
And I think it's a combination of fear and uncertainty. My business greatly depends on the success of this logo over here. We've been doing exclusively Magento implementation since 2008. Since we launched our first site on 2008, we've done nothing but Magento builds, and any other platform we dealt with was in conjunction with Magento implementation. Now, that's a lot of eggs in one basket, and that's something, obviously, as we continue to grow, we'll have to address as a business. But for now, Magento grows, we grow. That's pretty much the strategy behind that. So, obviously, I'm not completely unbiased towards the platform. I do think it is it's the right fit for the merchants that we implement the solution for. And, there's nothing else on the market like it. So it's pretty easy to identify where it fits. And then once you do, that's really the only viable option at this point. And so, we just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to to present that feedback in a positive and constructive manner. So it hopefully the uncertainty will subside when everyone kind of sees what Adobe's going to do with the platform, and a lot of it may be the feedback. Adobe has resources. Magento is never going to be able to use an excuse that they don't have resources at this point, because it's almost an unlimited budget if they're successful with what they're doing, because Adobe has money. So we'll see if that money is leveraged in a constructive way. I know they're hiring a lot of positions right now, and they're constantly adding to that team. I wish I could be a fly on the wall on some of those conversations to see what they're doing with all of those resources. But, it is what it is, and I'm sure we will all find out soon enough.
Maybe by next Imagine.
Yeah, by the next Imagine. And, the next Imagine is going to be an interesting one, because I believe it is the last in the series at the Win. And so I don't know, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if Magento has I think they had an agreement at the Win, and I think this is the last one. So this is a nice clean break for Adobe to do something with no commitment, do something completely different if they choose to do so. So, the question is this the last Imagine? And will Adobe roll this into their own conference? Or will it not be Imagine and something else? Will it, it could be completely different. But I think by far this is going to be the largest Imagine, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
How many Imagines have you been to?
I have been to 2 of them now, and this last one was even better than the first. So I'm looking forward to the third one.
Yeah, they continue to grow. I think this was my 3rd consecutive one that I've been to as well. I'm planning something really big for the next one, for the weeks leading up to it. You're located in Kansas City, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So we're going to have to, I'm going to have to make you a little part of this, but what I'm going to try to do, is I've got a car that I'm working on. I'm hoping it's done, but I'm going to try to get some sponsors. I'm going to try to get several volunteers, and we are going to spend a week to a week and a half road tripping to Imagine and stopping at all the little Magento places along the way and shooting some content, doing some videos. I want to own social media, really try to push Imagine and the road to Imagine for about a week to 10 days before the event. I think it could be a lot of fun, and you're right there on the way.
Sure. That sounds like a lot of fun to work on.
Definitely. Again, if you have any questions, anything you want to add to this conversation, please tweet it. Hit me up on Facebook. We are listening, and we will. I'm getting pings on Twitter that are not related to that, so it threw me off my game there for a second. I'm way off my game today, man. It's been a very, very long week and a very, very long day. And anytime you have sudden plans change on guests, and then the problems, and we're trying to add complexity and DJ night, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this bottle later tonight. I assure you, it's going to be a good evening.
Let me just say this: that I've watched some of your other streams, and you would hardly notice any difference. So you seem like you're at the top of your game right now.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone watching. I don't think people understand how much effort it takes to create content, and there are lots of days you just don't want to. I've got a lot of respect for Philip Jackson and all the podcasts he puts out, and Kalen doing a lot of great video content on YouTube. He had a fantastic live stream yesterday about Magento hosting. I still don't know what it is about hosting that draws the crowds, but it was a fantastic live stream, and you need to click over to Commerce Heroes channel, doing some great stuff. But it's a grind. It wears on you, and so it's always good to get a little appreciation, and it's a lot of fun. On the flip side, it's great to have these conversations, because I think we've we've seen each other once or twice at a couple of conferences. When else would two small agency owners be able to sit here and just have a conversation about Magento?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Community Insider Program, and I think you're going to know a lot more about this Community Insider Program than I do. So if you would, just kind of tell the viewers what the Community Insider Program is.
Well, the Community Insider Program is a partner program without the word partner in it. You get a badge from Magento. It costs, I think, $3,000 to get in. They said eventually they're going to provide the capability whereas when you contribute to the code, you contribute to DevDocs, you'll get a discount off of that $3,000 a year. But basically you join in. I think the requirement is you have to send in a case study every quarter. I think there's one or two others about sharing some of your customers as well, your list of customers. Then also there's, I believe, some rating metrics where they will then solicit feedback from your customers to make sure that you are doing well. And so their goal is, in my understanding, is to create a simple way for them to include small agencies like us, as well as and give them this badge, this symbol saying that they are part of the program, but also be able to keep tabs on the quality metrics. Which obviously they have a lot more of that on the partner side, on the full-fledged partner side, but I'm trying to extend at least a little bit of an olive branch, to the smaller ones, like smaller agencies like us.
Now you always want to finish on a positive, so let's talk about maybe the negative of the Community Insider Program first, and then let's finish with the positives. The first thing that pops up is $3,000. And I know when we first joined the partner program at Magento, this didn't exist. We were the lowest tier partner at the time, and I think it's the professional partner tier now. Is what they call it. And before we had Matt Boland, which is our contact at Magento, before we had Matt, it was basically send us some money and thanks for joining. There were no real contact. There was no inside information. There was no access to code. There was no nothing. Like, we got absolutely nothing for sending that check other than we got to use the Magento logo. That was pretty much it. And is this program, is it kind of the same as that, or is there any level of access or any real business benefits to it other than using the logo?
It depends on if you read the fine print or not. In my understanding, from what I've observed, there is very little benefit other than the logo. So again, $3,000 is a lot for a logo. They have not sent any specific sales contacts or anything like that over. So the thing goes back, and maybe this is jumping ahead to the positives, but like Mr. Benjamin Marks, I mean, I think if there was ever an angel in in human form, that would be him. He works his tail off, and I just very grateful to him. I guess a little bit of the background here is me, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of others, people have been bugging him because he was the contact, for the community in general, saying, hey, look, how can we get a little bit of how can we get some certification from Magento as far as we're dedicating, like you said, all of our eggs are in this one basket. So we want a little bit of a reassurance back from Magento as far as, who we are and our capabilities, so we can show this to our customers. So I think it was September of last year, he forwarded me, sent me over to Eliza Shapiro, I think. And she was the one that was responsible for putting this whole program together. So I think she talked to quite a few people in the community. I was able to be a part of one of those phone calls. And I put out there a lot that I thought it'd be really nice if it would be a community partner level or use the word partner in there. That was ultimately obviously decided against because it was Community Insider. So I think from that aspect, that also devalues the logo in, it's the badge sort of thing. It's a Community Insider. What is that versus being a partner?
Yeah, one of the problems with that is just educating customers, right? Because
Right.
you basically people will claim we're a Magento partner. We're part of the Community Insider
Right.
program. It may not use the word partner, but are you a partner? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, we're in the Community Insider program. We send the money.
Yes.
We use the badge. Now, I believe the badge is a great thing for the actual partner levels because there is some sort of accountability. You got to screw up pretty bad or several times, but you will get kicked out of that program. There is some,
Yes.
there is a feedback mechanism by which enterprise customers can complain about you and how your business dealings, and if you're constantly underbidding projects and not delivering, then eventually that will come back to haunt you. With this program, though, is there what are the requirements? Is it literally just write a check, everybody's in, or is there any sort of is there any sort of threshold that you have to meet to actually be involved that you're aware of?
No employee or financial thresholds. The only requirement is that you have to have at least one associate developer on staff.
Okay,
That's
and that,
it.
I mean, that's at least something, right? That's at least something,
Right. It is.
because
Yes.
I understand a lot of the reasonings, and we'll talk about the benefits here in a second. I understand a lot of the reasonings as to why this program is important, and again, we will talk about those things. So I don't necessarily want to harp on those, but customers don't understand the differences in partner levels. Like I've bid on projects against global elite partners, and they don't like customers. Are you a partner? Yes, that's it. That's the question, right?
That's right. End of
Um,
story. Yes.
and so they don't know that. Well, those guys they have more janitors than we have employees, and so it maybe we're the right fit, maybe we're not the right fit because of the size of our company. But that question doesn't come up. It's just, are you a Magento developer? Are you a Magento partner? Are you, associated with the platform? Do you know what you're talking about? So if you
That's
give
right.
a company that validity and they don't know
Mhm.
what they're talking about, what are the long-term ramifications of that? If all I've got to do is write you a check and have someone that passed a certification test, is there a feedback mechanism involved in that? Is there some sort of ramifications for not doing a good job? Or are you just kind of are you there, right? Are you're just there
Mhm.
forever as long as you keep writing the check? There are no requirements. There are no, like, we have sales requirements. We're lucky enough to where we sell enough licenses to make that partner requirement, although if they keep jacking it up, like every year I make the requirement, it moves. We'll see next year
Yes.
whether or not I can sell enough licenses. But I'm just curious as to what the long term ramifications of having that
Mhm.
official association with the platform, but Magento not really having any leverage over those partners. Any thoughts around that?
I do know that they ask for a periodical survey. So I think, and that might actually go to the merchants. That seemed a little fuzzy when I was signing up about that. So I think there is a feedback mechanism that they're actually soliciting information from merchants about that. So I could see that would be their quality control metrics to ensure that people are performing and fulfilling the needs of the merchants as necessary in that.
But I mean, what are the consequences, right? Like I keep doing a terrible
Well,
job. I
yes,
keep
fair
I
enough.
keep bidding $700 Magento websites, and
Hmm.
then I do $700 worth of work, and I haven't even got the thing installed yet. And so what are you going to do? Right? What's the? I mean, I'm assuming eventually, if it was egregious enough, they could kick you out of that program. So my
There's no
concern
money
is,
back.
yeah, the confusion in the marketplace with merchants, because
Hmm.
a lot of deals we go into, like we've got several on the table right now where we're competing against non-partners, and it's a, I don't want to say it's an easy sell, because sometimes you lose those for various reasons, but it's
Right.
we all we do is Magento. We've been doing Magento almost as long as Magento's been doing Magento. We picked this thing up in a beta, and we launched our first site on the first stable version. Like, we have been doing Magento forever. And so do you really want some company that is not committed to the platform? Because Magento's not the easiest thing in the world. This is not installing WordPress and starting to hack on it. And so,
Sure.
do you want to bet your business's future, at least your e-commerce's business's future, on a unproven agency that is they're probably going to be cheaper because they don't have the level of certifications. I mean, Magento certified developers in the United States are expensive. It's not like
That's
you
right.
hired that $30,000 guy locally and you're building websites with him. And so, if we're competing with them, it's easy for us to say, well, we're a partner, they're not a partner. Here's why this is not a good idea for you to take that risk, because sales is all about mitigating risk. When it comes
Absolutely.
to a large-scale enterprise-grade e-commerce build. And so there's a whole bunch of risk in an unproven. But when they've got that badge, even if it's not the same badge, then we have to try to educate the customer or the consumer on the differences in those badges. And I think that's going to make things even more confusing for a lot of customers. That's really the negative I see in it. But I mean, you're in the Community Insider program, so what is your view on that? You agree with that? You disagree?
I think, again, the biggest disappointment is the fact that it was not called a partner, community partner, whatever along those lines. Because again, so like, and I see in the comments, Ben Marks, he said, are you a partner? Exactly. So it's like, yes, I'm a partner, but the name that associates me with Magento is a community insider. And they're like, huh? I'm okay. So it's that, again, it comes back to more education versus just the term partner, I think is used pretty widely across the industry, meaning I have a contractual association there. So it is more of it's more education that's required, like you were saying. The funny thing is that we've been so crazy busy swamped, we've actually completely shut down our sales operations right now. So I wish I could say, yeah, it's really helped us, or nah, it's been pretty much worthless, so I can't say it at this point because we haven't been able to use it that much in our sales cycle.
Just stop the brag. If you need a guy to send those leads to, man, I know somebody that'd be willing to talk to them and see whether or not they would be a fit. But that's great. And that's, I definitely don't claim, someone that is as active in the community as Swift Otter is, and obviously, has very talented staff on hand. That's very different for me than, if I were bidding against Swift Otter, I would never use we're going to do a good job, they're risky. Right, I wouldn't use that. But if you get, Joe Blow local web development company, that's really my concern. Right, it's not you guys.
Absolutely.
And if everyone in that program is Swift Otter, by all means, call it community partner program and be done with it. And I guess the key term there is partner. But that's just going to require some education and some salesmanship, and obviously, anything that most of the time, if we're competing for deals, we're not always just competing against other agencies. We're competing against other platforms, and anything that makes the Magento waters muddier and less clear, well, that's an opportunity for other platforms to creep in there as well. And so we want to, we obviously want to make that sales cycle as simple as possible. So let's talk about the positive, right? Let's talk about the benefit. We always want to end with the benefit on a topic, and I think there's a lot of great benefit to this program. First off, it's a little when Magento's like, submit your customer list. That's always, anytime anybody asks for my customer list, and we get this a lot. It's like, oh, we want to be partners. Would you, this is a great little widget. We want to be how about you give us your customer list so we can try to sell them this widget?
Maybe not.
We're probably going to say no on that one, but it's good for Magento because that community, that sea of community installations is basically anonymous at this point. And how do you market to them? How do you, as Magento, how do you build a relationship with that community that could possibly be, eventually be Magento Enterprise customers, or even just long-term community contributors, or just long-term customers? And the more you build a relationship with them, then the stronger that bond will be. And I've got Ben Marks here in the chat mentioning that Insider denotes access to marketing and product resources that are not publicly available. And again, that's part of the positive of this, right? Is that now, because when we weren't a partner, we were basically stonewalled. Now, we were not a partner during, the early days and the eBay days. We really tried to become a partner during the eBay days, and it was really no communication whatsoever. It was like, you're in Alabama, you're a little small firm in Alabama, we're not. Yeah, if you were in Atlanta or California, then maybe, but that's not a region we're really looking for someone in at this point.
Right.
So yeah, and again, Ben's comments here, and I wished I could put them on the screen, but we're having some technical difficulties. And Ben's comment is, I think your point is that the name implies some special community access, which of course can't be gated by Magento or anyone else. And I agree, Ben. That's the concern is that maybe people who don't do a good job on Magento can leverage that official tie to Magento to win some deals that they have no business being in and that they can't possibly deliver. And if they're able to do that because they have lower cost employees that aren't properly trained on Magento, that ultimately that's not healthy for the ecosystem. A project rescue, and we take on quite a few project rescues to where we take a project over from another agency that started it and didn't finish it for various reasons. There's a lot of reasons that happens, and it happens to everybody. I'm not saying that you're a bad agency if that necessarily happens, but if it happens a lot, yeah, probably. And so that's not healthy for anybody. I mean, it's healthy for our bottom line if we take those over and we get those projects and we finish them and they become long-term customers, but it's not healthy for the Magento ecosystem. It leaves a bad taste in merchants, in their mouths, as they say, and it just leaves a bad legacy for the platform with someone that could have been a supporter of the platform. Give us some of your positives on the platform or on the Community Insider program. And, if you've shut down sales, maybe it's working for you, maybe it's not. But, what did you see as positives? What made you want to be a part of that program?
The biggest reason, again, like Ben Marks said, is that we wanted that badge, that partner capability. And there was no way possible for us to get it. I beat down a number of doors to try to get it. It was not going to happen. So the badge is the biggest reason in showing that validation. Look, we have invested ourselves totally in Magento. That's all we do is Magento, and so we feel like we're qualified. Just like you mentioned, the rescues. I mean, I think it was a week or so ago we had somebody calling us say, "Hey, look, we went with, I think it was a local web development agency, and we just released, that was early July, we just released our beautiful new Magento 1 website, and there's a whole bunch of things broken with it." And I was like, wow, we just released the Magento 1 website July 4th of 2018. Yeah. So, but that goes back to, but having that Community Insider badge, while I think it's not going to put us on a level playing field with other partners, which I think is part of the whole deal. That's why the Community Insider name was chosen. It will help elevate us over the rest of the playing field of other development agencies. And so I think in the Magento market. So I think that is the biggest benefit for that. The other product marketing resources. The funny thing is, I've been having trouble finding those in the area. So I've been trying to hunt those down. The cloud the cloud sandbox, I think, is also is going to be a good benefit for us to be able to play with that and get some experience, and so that we can start working at selling that as opportunity arises.
Yeah. What percentage of your projects are enterprise versus open source?
I'm going to say 20% is about 10 to 20% is about for our is commerce or enterprise. Yes.
Yeah, I understand, and you know again, we're having some auto switching problems there, so I gotta press the buttons. It's cool. We're going old school today. We're going old school. Again, got some good comments there in the chat. Definitely join us and be a part of that conversation. And you know, Ben Marks again is mentioning that we all remember the old days, circa '09, when partner program was pay to play, and that did so much damage to the Magento brand. And I agree with you, Ben. That's you know, Magento has come a long way, and that's one of the reasons I want to make sure that any feedback we provide is we try to do it in a constructive way. And so, you know, these concerns with the Community Insider program at this point are not really complaints. They're really more concerns, right? Like, here are some consequences that might possibly come with that. Let's do what we can to avoid those things, because if all it takes is $3,000 and you get, you know, a badge, you know, obviously you didn't use the word partner. Maybe that's a good choice. Also, on the flip side, is there some way to, you know, to maybe, well, and I think it really goes down to selling enterprise license, because if you're, you know, if 20% of your business is enterprise, well, then maybe you don't necessarily need to be a partner to do that, right? You definitely don't need to be a partner, and the stress and the costs that go along with being a partner to sell open source. And so, you know, but the problem that I have is that a lot of, if you're doing community, and we did community forever, like, I mean, almost everything we did up until a couple or a few years ago was Magento Community Edition, Magento 1 Community Edition stuff. And so if you're dealing with that merchant, so many times cost is one of, if not the driving factor in who they choose to go with. And why would I go with this person that seems reputable when I can go with this person that's telling me they're going to do it for half as much? Because, you know, those merchants don't understand the difference in the services. Their level of complexity is minimal as far as what they understand about their e-commerce. They don't understand if they go this route, they can grow, and if they go this route, well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The website's not going to do anything because they went with somebody that doesn't know how to execute on that website and actually help them grow. And if the company that's not doing a good job has the same badge as the company that is doing the good job, and you know, maybe that's, you know, is that some sort of feedback mechanism? If that's some sort of rating mechanism where merchants that have dealt with them can rate them, and I don't know. You know, I don't know if I have the answer to that. I just want to make sure that, you know, moving forward, we're making sure we don't legitimize someone that should not be legitimized when it comes to their relationship with Magento, even if that's just a perceived legitimate situation, right? If it's just they have the badge, they can now use the logos. Does that give them some advantage because they're cheaper than someone who is legitimate? That's really the only concern with that. And so, and you say you're still looking for a lot of the marketing resources and things like that. Is there any sort of, like, Magento is starting to do some small merchant packages? I've seen that, where they've got a lot of agencies doing you know, $25,000, $35,000 implementations. Are you guys involved in any of that, or is there any sort of source of leads from Magento for you for open source merchants?
There is the option on our the community edition partner portal page for merchants to contact us through that, but we haven't had it really anybody. We have, as far as Google searches go, we have, you know, we're like #1 in the Kansas City area, just below Magento. But again, the thing is there at that point, it's like, if I really obviously say, if I was a merchant, if I really value my site, am I really going to just type, Kansas City Magento partner or whatever into Google and then say, okay, well, let's just click on the top one here. I would probably tend towards some people that I known and have that word of mouth referral, that sort of thing. So I really can't say how. Well, we haven't had any people contacting us through that. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, I mean, even with our partner portal, we don't. If we get anyone contacting us, it's, oh, these guys are in Alabama, they're going to be cheap. That's pretty much the folks.
It's not exactly what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we're going to be cheaper than some, but we're not cheap.
Right.
And if you're just looking for a bargain, then we're definitely not going to be the right folks. If you want to talk to somebody that knows e-commerce and knows Magento, then hey, we're here. Give us a call. It's cool. But
right.
We're a smaller agency. We're later to the partner program. I don't really know exactly what the sorting options are on that, but we don't get a ton of contacts from the partner portal listing, partner directory listing. So that's probably par for the course. Talking about geography though, one of the things we have noticed is if you have connections, if you have an agency or somebody, then obviously you're as a business owner, you're trying to reduce your risk in this decision because it's a website is always a lot of money to you. Now, whether a lot of money is $3,000 or $300,000, it's always a lot of money to you, and so you want to reduce risk in that. And if you know somebody, you usually go that route. If you already have a relationship with somebody that's positive, then you go that route, even if they don't know Magento. Maybe they were doing a SaaS platform for you and you want to move to Magento and they don't know it. But as far as geography goes, we have seen that outside of knowing somebody, geography is a crutch people lean on to reduce that risk. And in their minds, if I can drive to this person's office and there's somebody there I can talk to, then I can, that reduces the risk versus somebody that's completely across the country. And of course, that's a fallacy to a certain degree. We see it a lot with people who have dealt with freelancers, and I don't know if you've seen the same. In that freelancers are notoriously unreliable, and to a lot of merchants. Yeah, they're here one day and then they take a bigger job or a better job or whatever, and then they disappear for a month and you can't get any work out of them. And those smaller merchants tend to want somebody local because they've been burned by someone like that.
Absolutely.
And are you kind of dealing with the same problems there?
Well, definitely. I mean, the way I look at it is we're working with merchants. Their website, for the most part, unless they have brick and mortar presence as well, their website it's their baby. It's what puts food on their table. So they have the most sensitive connection with their website, almost more than seems like any other part of their business. So one of the biggest things that they want, and they want that assurance of, is that they will have almost, especially I think probably for the smaller merchants, almost 24/7 access to somebody, not totally 24/7. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for freelancer is like, you go on vacation. Well, who's going to take over while you're gone? You even fly somewhere, say the website goes down. Who's going to take that over? So working with a company, whether it's 5 people or 50 or even 500, it provides a level of stability, even though it will be more expensive. You're going to have more overhead. They're going to have to do their own marketing activities and sales activities, and that all adds to the overhead. But in that way, it's going to be more stable because there should hopefully always be somebody, I say always, within reason, to be able to manage the site, call the host, beat down the door of the host, say my website's down, or something happened. Let's take a look at it.
So give us we've been going an hour here. If anybody has any particular topics, any particular questions, they want to add anything to this conversation, please, by all means, let me know. Post it in the chat, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're at. We're streaming on all sorts of platforms. We're going to be trying to also add in Twitch and Instagram, which Instagram is an interesting nut to crack there. It's very complicated to stream on Instagram because they only want you to do it from a phone, but we figured it out. I've just got to invest $1,000 in buying all the crap we need to actually make it happen. So we'll get around to that eventually. Instagram's going to be a little while. But outside of that conversation, again, I think very highly of you and your work in the community, and your study guides are fantastic. I wish we put out those study guides, to be honest with you. That's how good they are. And so, again, I think very highly of your company because of that. And so why don't you give us the elevator pitch on Swift Otter? Again, tell us who's the right merchant for you guys? Why should they choose Swift Otter? Make a sales pitch here. Let's see what we can. Even though your sales are completely closed,
Okay.
Who's the right merchant for you?
Yes. So we like to work with merchants between the 1 million and the 20 million range. I think 1 million is pretty much, in my opinion, where Magento starts being valuable. Provides a lot of value, that customization. Once you get over that, you're going to start wanting to adjust features and how your site works. 1 to 20 million in revenue a year. Our goal, we have been mostly focused on the development side, but we've been getting a lot more into the SEO, the pay-per-click, so the whole digital marketing, a little bit of the social strategy. So starting out with a strategy on the site, working to then implement that strategy in a successful and measurable way, and then looking at the results and working through the iteration of it. Obviously, we're Magento only, so if a merchant's outside of that, then we will help you, find somebody that works with Shopify or whatever the platform is that they want to work with. So we obviously do the design work. We'll work on development, debugging, audits, that kind of thing. That has been our bread and butter, is the development side, and our goal is to be extremely skilled. So I don't know how many certifications we have as a total. So extremely skilled, try to prove that through our certifications. And that was one of the reasons why we got the Community Insider, is another badge in that way.
So if you're looking, if you need something, call me, because Swift Otter's all booked up. You don't want to go with those guys, right?
No.
How big is your team?
There are 8 of us. So I have 3 full-time developers, 3, yeah. And then I'm training 2 guys, and then we have QA, we have / project management, and then we have account manager. Sometimes did the sales, but we turned that off right now. So mostly handles account management, just other entrepreneurial ops. So I think, and then we also have a bookkeeper too. So about 8 of us.
Awesome. And so I appreciate you watching. It's been another great live stream, even though we had some technical difficulties. I can't even talk. That's how long of a day it's been. Even though we've had some technical issues, we seem to get it all worked out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for those who participated in the chat. We have a great live stream next week as well. We're going to have Miguel Balparda on from Nexus, and we're going to talk about the community engineering team, who, again, is live streaming. They've got a YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, click over there, and I don't know if they're still streaming or not, but subscribe to that channel. Hit the subscribe button on this one. Let's see if that actually works. Look at there. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Again, we've set up a Twitch stream as well on Instagram. You can find me on all of those at eCommerce-Aholic. And you can find Joseph there. I don't think, see, it goes to a black screen when I click there, but Joseph Max or Swift Otter. Any closing words there, Joseph?
I think it's been a terrific time just hanging out with you and chatting about the versioning, the minor releases, and I really think it was the important discussion about the positivity about Magento. Again, I feel tremendous gratitude for what they have done and the thousands and thousands of dollars they invest back into the community through the community edition. So I think it's incredible, but also the constructive criticism. So that was really good. And then again, chatting about the Community Insider. So yeah, it's been a terrific conversation.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on. And again, we will see you next week.